Hi, this is Kathi Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to this week's Project of the Week. Now, I've had several questions, actually it's a challenge, with our properties, our sequence box, our library, our designs, and our browser. It's really not understood how these things work over here. So I thought today we would clear this up and get everybody real comfortable with working with this, because this can be kind of frustrating. Now we're talking about this area right here and all of our tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, quote, accidentally close these things, because that's what happens to us. These things close down, and we don't ever know quite how to get everything back and working in proper order. Now sometimes people will close all these things down so they have a full area to work with, a larger design area. Now if you lose or accidentally close your boxes, how do we get them back? Well, you can always shut your program down and reopen it, and everything comes back where it's supposed to be. However, that is not always the thing we want to do, and what's really nice is let's learn how to do it. Now you have a tab up here at the top that says Toolbars, because all of those are toolbars. Now I'm going to left mouse click on the word Toolbars, and I want you to notice anything that has a check mark in front of it is where we can see it. There's File, there's Edit. So you can get the idea. All of these things are locked on. Now we can always deselect them and these things will disappear. Anything I want to disappear, I can just deselect. You notice all these things I've closed are not selected. So let's look at some of these. Now I'm going to click on my sequence view. Now I'm not going to put a check mark in front of it. I'm just going to click on it. Now my sequence view is something that I want to stay here. So I'm going to leave this little push pin like it's pushed straight into the wall. You notice it's up and down. Now let's go back to that toolbar. So notice now sequence view has a check mark by it. Now let's go to library. Now library, I'm going to move my push pin. I'm going to click on my push pin with a left mouse click, and it's going to click to the side. So now my library is over here. Now if I hover over it, my library will open up and I can work with it. But since it's not pinned to the board, it's not pinned straight onto my design area, it's a tab over on the right. Now I'm going to come back to Toolbars, and notice it doesn't have a check mark in front of it because I don't have it pinned to my workspace. Let's go to Design. Same thing. I'm going to click on my push pin, and I am going to left mouse click. Well, come on, my dear. Left mouse click for me, and I'm going to pin it to the side. Now I'm going to also come to Toolbars, and I'm going to go to Browser. I'm going to click on my browser, and again I'm going to left mouse click on that little push pin, and they're over here on the side. So if I want to use them, I can hover over them and they'll come up and I can work with them. But they're not pinned to my workspace. Now I'm going to come back to Toolbars, and I'm going to click on Properties. I want that pinned to my workspace. So there's my properties, there's my sequence view. Now let's go ahead and close these down again. We're going to close these, and all I'm doing is left mouse clicking on the X when they come up. Now let's come back to Toolbars. Now I'm going to click on Sequence View. I'm going to come on Toolbars, and I'm going to put a check mark in front of Library. I'm going to come to Toolbars. I'm going to put a check mark in front of Designs. Toolbars, a check mark in front of Browser, and Toolbars and a check mark in front of Properties. Now these are all pinned to my workspace. You notice my push pins are straight up and down. So that is not going to work for me, because now I have no design area at all. Now there might be a time when I wanted to pin my designs or my library or my browser. I might want to pin them, but that would be rare. So it's much better to have them as tabs at the side. So I'm going to go ahead and close these down. And I'm going to come back to Toolbars, and I'm going to click on Library, Pin It. Toolbars, Designs, oops, Pin, my dear. Let's see what we're doing here. Of course, now it doesn't want to do as I'm talking to it. Let's go back over here. I'm sorry. Let's go back to Toolbars. Now I want my sequence view. Toolbars, I'm just going to bring up my library, and I want to pin it to the side. So there went my library. Now if I hover over it, of course it'll come back. Now my properties, I definitely want pinned. So I'm going to pin my properties because I do want my properties pinned to my board. So there's my properties. Here's my sequence view. So let's come over to Toolbars. Now we've already got our library. Let's go to Designs. Let's pin them to the side with a left mouse click. Let's go to our toolbars and let's get our browser. And we can also pin our browser to the side. Now if I wanted to use a larger workspace, I could actually pin my properties and my sequence view to the side as well. So we could pin everything to the side. Let me get my sequence view. And we're going to pin it to the side. So I could actually run all of my tabs down the side. Now normally we keep our sequence view and our properties pinned here because that's something that we use. For instance, let's come to my library. Let's go down to the free monthly designs. Let's come down to September. And I haven't downloaded my new designs, but let's look at September 2014. Now I'm going to hover over my designs folder now, and it's going to show me, it should show me what's in September 2014. Let's go back to my library, see what's going. I see what happened. I'm sorry, let me scoot on down. There's a plus in front of that one. So I'm going to look at my WAF files. There we go. Now let's go into my designs. And here's what we've got. So let's bring these leaves over. Now I might want to look at my sequence view. So there I could hover over my sequence view and look at it and work with it if I needed a larger design area. So y'all are getting the idea. Now if I wanted to work with tell this to pin it to my wall, I could pin that. So now it's no longer here as a tab, it's solid here in front of me. Now I also have one other way to open my properties box. I can come up here. I do have one icon that's a properties icon, and I could use that to open my properties box, but as you see I've put it to the side. So let's pin my properties. So there I've pinned my properties on, and there's my sequence view. So if I needed to see the properties of something, I could go ahead and see that. And these are two boxes we normally always want open. But our library designs in browser are nicer to have tabbed to the side. These have always been confusing to so many people. How do I work with that and what happens? And what happens if you're clicking away and you get your sequence view flies over here? What has happened is somehow I've double left mouse click on the bar right here, right next to sequence view, and now it is a floating window, which means I can put it anywhere on my page, or I can double left mouse click and it will lock back into place. So you can also have any of your windows, these panes, you can have them floating. So double left mouse click and it is now floating, and I can use it somewhere else. Double left mouse click and it's going to lock back into place, unless of course I unpin it and send it back to the tabs on the side. Now this has been a question that I get all the time. What happens when my boxes disappear? I can't find them. So now you know how to work with these. You know how to close them. You know how to pin them to the side. You know how to pin them to the desktop. I could come over here and add my properties back that I had closed. And a lot of times I will close my properties box deliberately. You see, when we're working with our sequence view, if I want to see, as you can see, I can't see my apply button. So I pull my sequence view down far enough so I can see my apply, and now I have a very limited view in here of my sequence. And when you're trying to work in here, maybe within a sequence, it's really hard when you've got to scroll and you have just 1.5 inches or so to work with. So by coming up and closing my properties, it gives this the full pane so I can work in here. If I wanted to work within one of these, I can come in now and play in here and work with it. Makes it easy to see, easy to work with. Then when I'm through with that and I might want to see the properties again, I'll just click on my properties icon, bring that back in here. My sequence view will lock back down into place, and I can now work in here with using my property box. So those are just some quick little tips on how to work with these on this side. Now let me bring up one other thing. Now over here, I want you to notice that I have, in our sequence view, we've got some filters or some refinement here. Let's say I wanted to see everything in here that was in burgundy. And that's all I wanted to see was my burgundy flower, because maybe I want to change that burgundy flower and I want to make it a different color. So by being able to isolate that burgundy flower very easily in here, I could come down and say, I want it to be this dark. So now I've changed it to harvest. Now I could come in here and say, I want to see African Safari. That's the only color I want to see is African Safari. So you can see how easy that would be to isolate something that's a specific color in here. Now also in segments, this is really, really nice. When you're working, and these probably isn't the best, because if you'll notice, they're either one or the other. Like here's a satin, here's a run, here's a fill. I want to see all runs. I want to see all runs. That's it. So I'm only going to get to see what are runs. Now in this case, this would be great if I wanted to change the color of the stems and veins in the leaves. If I wanted to do that all at once, they may, in this case, they're all black, but it could be they're different colors. This would make it very easy. If I've got a design that has lots of satin stitching in it in different places, I could come in here and say, I just want to see the satin paths. So I would only see the parts of that design that were satin paths, and I could work with those. This makes it very easy to work in your sequence view when you're trying to pull up just specific pieces of a design. Let's look at, let me come in here, let me look in these designs. Let me get a new piece of paper first. And let's look in these designs. Let's see, these are probably all pretty well done just like that. Let me double check. Yeah, this is going to have just a 1, a 1, and a 1. Okay, that's not even going to do us any good either. Let's go into the library and let's pull up, let me get a new piece of paper. Let's go into our library and let's pull up, let me see if I can just think of, I don't know, we'll just try something here. Let's look at the designs that are in these butterflies. Nothing there, of course, since I'm trying to do this for a class. That's how it always goes when you're doing something for a class. Let's go in here. Let's see what's in here. Okay, let's come in this. I don't even know, but we will find out soon. So let's go and look at the designs in this folder. Okay, let's pull this guy out. Okay. Now let's come in here and let's look. And let's see within these. Okay, here's a perfect example. Let's say I wanted to work with, now we're talking about, and you can see, we're talking about his wings. Let's say I wanted to do something with the satin path and not everything else. I just want to deal with the satin paths. So I would say, let me see the satin paths. Now do you see how easy that is? Because it pulled out all the run. So now if I wanted to work and do something in these satin paths, say I wanted to, I don't know, maybe I wanted to make it a fancy satin. So I wanted to come down here and say, I want, let's see, let's come with a fancy satin. So I want to come in here and make this a fancy satin. I can easily pick that out right now because I have just the satin paths in here and I wouldn't have to worry with dealing with the runs. Let's say I wanted to do something just with the runs. So now here's the run stitches. Now we can see what these runs are. Let's go down and see. They are probably what goes around the outsides of these. It's the run that goes on around here. So I might want to change those runs to, I don't know, maybe I wanted to change them to a, come down here and make them a motif run. So I could turn those runs into motif runs. So you can see how having this would make it much simpler for you if you were dealing with a design like this that has all the pieces in there. So by using this in your sequence view, you can pick either by stitch type or you can pick by color. So that makes it a lot easier to play and modify within your designs. So that's something else in this window that you need to know about. Now our browser. Used to in our program, you could only see designs that were within your library. But we have added the browser where now I can go anywhere in my computer. If I have a jump drive plugged in, if I have an external hard drive, I can go to the browser also to look for designs. So I could go to my computer, I could go to local disk C, and I have a whole folder that I put A designs, and the reason I do that is because it's the first folder. So then I could look in any one of these folders and see the designs that are in there. Just the same, I could go in and look at the split design that I have under Brody. So I could drag those and drop those onto my screen. So you can do that going through your browser. So that's your browser. Now, with a browser, that's anywhere in your computer or any external. Your library is under Floriani. It is just your library and it's got whatever you put in it. Now the reason, why would we want both places? Why do we even need a library? Because sometimes the designs you work with all the time, you don't want to have to file through every design you have. It's nice to be able to put what you're working with right here in your library. It makes it very easy to get to them. And then of course designs is self-explanatory. Now you have noticed if I select a folder, I have to have a folder selected to see the designs that are in that folder. So if I don't select something, I can't see what's in it. This design box would be completely empty. So I just wanted to do a short lesson today, kind of explaining this corner of the world that we've had some questions with and some frustration with. And so I thought we would go through these, how to pull them in, how to put them out, and look at all of our options here. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we had a program that would allow you to see all of your designs, that would allow you to catalog them maybe arrange your designs by categories, say animals, flowers, this type thing. Be able to maybe even change some colors, do a little editing, do some fun with some designs in a program that would allow you to see everything. You know, this is fun. This is all great that we have this, but I'm going to tell you, it's a secret, but we've got something fun coming. So I want y'all to start looking towards our fun coming. Now you got to see last week, you got to see a little logo last week that when we were talking about. And so I want you to start looking this next week because I think you're going to be real excited at our new fun program that's coming out. So it's going to make you be able to have a lot of just a lot of organization with your designs and make it very simple, very easy. So I want you to look in the next few days, look for some good information coming so you can look at our brand new program. So I look forward to talking with y'all next week. I hope you have a good week and I look forward to it. Thank you for coming tonight and I will see you next time.